why ABSTER will hit a $5 billion market cap. So we're going to start off with a very broad idea, and we're going to work into the specifics of ABSTER and why I think it's going to hit a 5 billion market cap. But a broader market outlook, starting off with rate cuts. Trump wants many rate cuts. He has been pushing for them for a while. Rate cuts equals more money being printed, which means more inflation, which means all assets rise. But Bitcoin and crypto in general will probably capture the most attention as crypto is perfectly positioned. SPY is at all time high. Bitcoin is at all time highs. Not much of a reason for anything to stop. Obviously, we're in price discovery. Q4 is also historically bullish for Bitcoin as well as stocks. So we should be chilling as we go towards the end of the year. Okay, here I have a screenshot of the poly market odds of rate cuts. We have a very high likelihood of 2 rate cuts. That's the highest likelihood. We have a good likelihood of 1. Then we have a decent likelihood of 0 and a half decent chance of 3 rate cuts. Okay. Now, the risks for this part of the thesis playing out are fewer rate cuts than expected. So if we do get that 17% chance of 0% or 0 rate cuts, then that would be a bit of an issue to this part of the thesis. But it's not actually a big issue, as rate cuts will eventually happen. Rate cuts are bullish, but not 100% necessary for Bitcoin and crypto to continue upward. There's much more to the US economy than rate cuts. Trump will want stocks and any asset to skyrocket, whether there are or aren't rate cuts, obviously, but that's also why he's been pushing for rate cuts because he wants everything to go up. Rate cuts cannot happen, and Bitcoin and ABSTER can still be fine. Okay. Next thing, a general crypto outlook. So we have these charts here. We've got the Bitcoin chart. We're now going to all-time highs. Well, we're at all-time high basically. And this is a very, very much larger time frame. So look, this is like the whole history of Bitcoin. And each of these blue lines marks the halvings. And as you can see, each time we have a halving, this is the 4-year cycle, we just continue way higher. So Bitcoin is finally breaking all-time highs and it's looking like it is getting to the bull run we have seen many times in the past. Countries, institutions, and retail will all be bidding Bitcoin. This will lead to a massive Bitcoin pump and also potential extension of the 4-year cycle. Although the 4-year cycle would say 2026 is a bear year, with how much money wants to enter Bitcoin, there's a chance this bull run does not end in 2026. So we might have an extended bull market for Bitcoin where Bitcoin continues to rise in 2026, even though historically that would be a bear year. We'll obviously have to wait as time goes on and continue to reevaluate. But yeah, here are the risks. Oh, sorry, one more thing. There's also a small chance that the countries genuinely get in a bid war for who can own the most Bitcoin. If this happens, let's just say Bitcoin will go higher than anyone is expecting. Obviously, these countries have a ton of money. If they get in a bid war, particularly the big countries like US, China, Russia, if they get in a bid war and a race to who can own the most Bitcoin, then that's just going to pump us an insane amount. Okay, risks. Bitcoin follows 4-year cycle and enters a bear market in 2026. That would be an issue for sure with this thesis. Countries don't buy, and the institutions that bought get over leveraged, and they end up getting liquidated, causing the bear market. Conclusion: if the bear market happens, it is an invalidation for the thesis until the bull market comes back. We need to reevaluate each segment of this bull case. What if a bear market comes back and see if things start turning good again? But obviously, the bear market, everything goes down. Nothing's going to outperform. Well, there are going to be outperformers, but nothing's going to be an insanely good play. If Bitcoin's going down for a whole year, then everything is going to get affected in the crypto market. So that would be a huge invalidation of this thesis. Okay. Big money bidding crypto and mass adoption. This is the circle chart. They IPO'd at what was it, $60. They ran up to like $280 and now whatever, they're coming back down. But the point is there's definitely a lot of big money that is coming into crypto, whether that's actually physically buying crypto on chain, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Solana, or just recognizing that crypto is revolutionary and that it will be a huge thing going forward. There's such a use case for crypto, and everything's going to get better as time goes on. The technology and everything is going to get improved and adopted. Breaking: Robinhood launching tokenized US stocks in Europe on a custom Arbitrum Layer 2 blockchain. Amazing. Robinhood is now embracing crypto a lot more. And as you can see, look at how much their stock has benefited from that. It's just skyrocketing from like the lows of $5 now going to $100. And this is what we're seeing. We're seeing the big money guys, the institutional investors, finally realizing that crypto is the next big thing. Okay, so big money stock bros are finally realizing that crypto is the future. We saw this with Circle's IPO and with Hood's crazy run, and also Coinbase is running. A lot of bullish crypto companies on the stock market that are just running. So many announcements of massive companies pivoting to crypto, many inflows into Bitcoin spot ETFs. This is not only bullish for Bitcoin though, this is finally getting to be bullish for tokens such as ETH. ETH is truly a place to build, and 99% of companies who want to use crypto tech will use EVMs via ETH. This is also probably going to come more into effect after Bitcoin runs hard, which could cause a rotation as we have seen in previous cycles. So as I mentioned, Robinhood is building on Arbitrum's layer 2. Arbitrum is a layer 2 on Ethereum, and it's very obvious that Ethereum is the place to build, okay? So it's very, very bullish for Ethereum, which is also in turn bullish for alts and any ecosystems associated with Ethereum, which Abstract is, which is the network that ABSTER is on. Okay. Risks. ETH has been trashed this whole cycle. Some will say it will stay that way. Definitely a possibility for that. Risk number 2. Builders on Ethereum are undeniable. Obviously, it's the best place to build. But ETH doesn't necessarily go up just because there are builders. It all depends the situation. We've seen a lot of people building on ETH. I think it will make a difference since all these massive companies are building on ETH. But as I said, ETH doesn't necessarily go up just because there are builders. Conclusion. ABSTER has outperformed ETH anyways. Plus, with Abstract TGE, Abstract Token, ABS, we don't know if that's the ticker, but very likely it is more important than ETH's price, or it will be in the future. We have seen something like Solana outperform. So if ABS does this, it does not matter what ETH does. So obviously, ETH going up would be bullish from an altcoin perspective. But obviously, the thesis can still play out as we have seen on something like Solana. Solana's token went very well from like the lows of $10 all the way up to like $300, and we were in an alt season. So there are outperformers. Okay. Loads of capital that can flow in from outside of crypto. So the total crypto market cap is looking ready for its next leg up. And if history repeats itself in terms of percentage, it is possible for us to hit tens of trillions total market cap. Risks. I guess this is very obvious, but total doesn't go up as high as we want, 10 to 30 trillion. Conclusion is less than ideal. ABSTER will still perform well, but 5 billion might be ambitious. Okay, so obviously with this chart looking very bullish and with loads of capital that can flow in to crypto from outside of crypto, we can hit tens of trillions of total market cap in the crypto space. But there's also a good chance it doesn't happen. We'll see as time goes on, but we'll see how much adoption there truly is. And remember, the higher this goes, the higher this number goes on the total chart, the higher the potential market cap of every single asset in crypto. Okay, a crypto specific outlook. So here we have the Dogecoin chart, and this is a very well performing chart. Starting with Doge, we have seen meme coins outperform. Yes, this cycle we have seen even more meme coins go crazy, especially on Solana. But ever since Doge, we have always had good meme coin runners. Why is this, and will it continue? Well, I think the main reason for this is that people love an opportunity to turn $100 into an insane amount of money, like $1,000,000. So will this continue? Well, if this truly is the reason, which is that they want to take a high risk situation to potentially make a ton of money, do you think people will stop gambling to try and make these massive multiples? I think meme coins are here to stay. People want the speculative bets that have high potential but also high risk. Majority of people, like your average Joe, doesn't care to invest $100 for 2 to 3x in Bitcoin because nowadays that would only get them a few meals. So they would rather gamble the $100 for potential at a 1000x. Okay, even if Solana meme coins die and trenching dies, I am confident we will still get outperforming memes if you choose the right one. So what I'm saying is, yes, this cycle has been almost a meme coin super cycle. But even if the broad meme coin ecosystem goes stale and trenching is less prominent, then we could still have the outliers that end up doing very well because we've had those outliers now for years, and it's very obvious that the reason is because people want to gamble, and because they want to gamble, we will always have these meme coin outliers. Okay, risks. Meme coins become like NFTs, for example. So what we saw was last cycle, NFTs were all the hype, and they ended up kind of dying, and now there have been very few outliers. So there's always a chance that the outliers stop happening. The outlying meme coins that run very hard stop happening. It's possible. I'd say it's unlikely for the reason that I said. People stop gambling via tokens. Like maybe they change from meme coins to start gambling on NFTs again, for example. And so there's still the attraction of wanting to turn $100 into a million, but they don't do it with meme coins. Okay? No meme coin runners, not even the random outperformers like Doge and Chip. That's possible, but yeah, I think this is unlikely for the reasons stated above, but it's still something to consider. Okay. Now, a cycle specific outlook. So as I was mentioning, this cycle has been a meme coin super cycle. We have had a couple $4 billion runners like Bonk and With, many $1 billion runners, and a ton of $100 million runners. At the start of the cycle, however, the target market cap for a good runner was 100 million, just a random number. And as time went on, the market cap to be considered a good runner kept increasing. So we saw at the start, it's like, oh, this meme coin ran to 10 million. Oh, what's the next one that's going to run to 10 million? Oh, it's going to be this one. And then a couple months go by. Oh, this meme coin ran to 100 million. What's the next one that's going to run to 100 million? And then a couple months go by. This one ran to 1 billion. What's the next to 1 billion, right? So as time goes on, maybe $5 billion will be the new target market cap to be considered a good runner. Mix that with rate cuts and inflation, and $1 billion in the future will be worth less than $1 billion today. Although, of course, this would only be like 5% in the span of a year, so not very big of a deal. But on a larger time frame, it definitely will have an effect. In an insanely bullish scenario, potentially an alt season like we've seen in previous cycles, who's to say $10 billion won't be the new good runner? So I think a good example might be Brett. Brett coin ran to like 2.25 billion market cap, and that was considered a good runner, right? But who's to say that we don't get a massive altcoin season and meme coin season where that market cap that we're appreciating, which is like, oh, it went to 1 billion, amazing. What if that becomes 5 billion? And now we get constant $5 billion runners. It could become more common, and if it does, then 5 billion all of a sudden becomes more achievable than something like comparable to something like $1 billion today. Risks. Meme coin super cycle is over, and this chart does not go to all-time highs anymore. So I'm talking about this one. So if we just go down, then we're kind of relying on what I said here, which are the meme coins that are outliers. Okay? Still will have singular runners even if supercycle ends for reasons stated in the last slide, right? This slide right here. Perfect. Okay, a meme coin specific outlook. So here I have a bunch of charts. Brett hits a 2.26 billion market cap. Redo hits a $143 million market cap. Bull, this is Tron Bull. On Tron, it hit a 330 million market cap. Lo-Fi on Sui hit a 250 million market cap. Per on Hyperliquid hit a 195 million market cap, okay? Every chain has its runner. This is potentially with the exception of Solana, because Solana itself is the meme coin chain. For Solana, there are so many memes that many have to share the spotlight. But on other chains, there's almost always one really good runner that steals the majority of the attention. Why does this happen? Because people want a leveraged bet on the chain's popularity. And as the chain grows, the main meme coin will grow in popularity. The more popular, the higher the market cap. The bigger the community, the more newcomers hear about it. It is a positive feedback loop that keeps getting stronger, right? Because let's say ABSTER becomes, well, it already is, the face of abstract, right? Then more people come into the abstract ecosystem. Okay? They hear about ABSTER and they become a community member. Then when more newcomers come to abstract, they'll spread the news more, which then creates an even bigger community, which then increases more newcomers that hear about ABSTER, etc. So it's a positive feedback loop that keeps getting stronger. There's almost always a correlation of the chain's popularity and the most popular coin's growth. And we'll get a bit into why ABSTER is best in specific later on. What determines which coin will run on each chain? The majority of these coins tend to become the mascots of their respective chains. A good example is Toshi, calling themselves the face of base. Then Brett came along, overtaking Toshi's in market cap, and then Brett acted like the best bet on base chain. They acted like the mascot. Another good example of a mascot is Purr on Hyperliquid. People were debating who was the mascot, Purr or this random gecko. I don't know all the lore, but it's a very big deal. Who's the mascot? Because the face of the chain will always be that outlier. Even someone like Luca Netz understands the power of the mascot narrative, constantly saying Pengu is the mascot of crypto. Pengu is on track to average 1 billion views per day by end of year. Pengu is crypto's mascot. He understands mascot narratives are the strongest, okay? Abstract makes this very, very easy because they actually have an official mascot. His name is ABSTER. The coin was made by the community to tokenize the character, just like same thing for all of these. Miggles, Toshi, Brett, Purr, all the same thing. It is funny because Miggles, Toshi, and Brett all tried to call themselves the mascot. All of these meme coins wanted what ABSTER already has. Literally just imagine if one of these three base coins was the official mascot of base chain and Coinbase put them everywhere. How high would it go? Of course, it would depend on how base chain does, but that's exactly what you want. You want to bet on the chain. You see ABSTER everywhere around the abstract ecosystem, and it is a guarantee that as more people come onto abstract, more people will learn who ABSTER is. Therefore, the meme coin always gains a portion of inflows into the ecosystem. And here's proof who Hedge, who created ABSTER and who made him the mascot. This was before the chain even launched, November of 2024. If you want some cool ideas, whatever, we're embracing ABSTER, the new mascot. They used to have the Abs chat as a mascot, but whatever. ABSTER, the mascot now. It's been the mascot for almost a year now, and that's how it is. The fact that Abstract has an official mascot takes away the competition of trying to be the number one on the chain. One big problem with Toshi's narrative was it was the face of base until it wasn't, right? When Brett overtook its market cap, it wasn't necessarily the face of base anymore. But no matter which coin comes to abstract, no matter how high the market cap goes, ABSTER will always be the mascot, even if it gets overtaken in terms of market cap. And ABSTER's popularity will always continue to be correlated with abstract and its growth. I'm not saying it wouldn't be bad for the market cap of ABSTER to be overtaken by a new coin, but what I am saying is ABSTER will still be a guaranteed bet on the ecosystem's growth. The reality is you never know when there's going to be like a cabal coin like Brett that just overtakes everything in market cap. I think it would be unlikely on abstract, but there's definitely potential for it, and that's definitely a scenario you have to take into account. But the thing is, even if that happens, the thesis isn't dead. ABSTER is still the face of the chain. ABSTER is still the mascot. It doesn't matter. So, looking at the charts above of each coin, the better the chain, the higher the peak market cap generally. And this leads us into the abstract thesis. So, of course, your mascot is going to be tied to your chain success. So right now we have Purr on Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid's actually a good chain, so it's been doing pretty well. If you look at Brett, Brett's the next best example. They were on an amazing chain. Base chain's an amazing chain. So its peak was $2.26 billion. And because all these meme coins are reliant on their chain success is very, very important for the meme coin. So yes, ABSTER is amazing, but it's only as amazing as abstract is. And now this is when we get to the abstract thesis. Okay? Risks. They changed the mascot. I put a question mark here because if they do this, they would literally cause the crash of the number one meme coin on their chain, which they are somewhat reliant on. Because no chain can be a top 10 chain without an amazing meme coin runner. Abstract is trying to be a top 10 chain. If they want to be a top 10 chain, they need to have meme coin runners like these. And currently, their top meme coin is only at a 30 million market cap. So, is that a top 10 chain? Well, not yet. So they're somewhat reliant on this meme coin to do well, and they're reliant on the meme coins on their chain to do well. Okay? They would also take away a ton of work they have already put into creating this character and proliferating this character. Let me see if I could pull something up real quick. The meme depot. So Abstract created this meme depot. There's literally hundreds of memes of ABSTER on here, and a lot of them were created by the meme coin itself, but a lot of them were created by Abstract. And so it's like, you think they would put so much effort into creating these memes only to change the mascot? So basically, it's like the lowest percent chance. Don't even take it into consideration. Although, of course, it's something to keep in mind. And clearly, the market doesn't think that this is a likelihood with it being the number one on the chain. If this was actually a genuine risk, obviously ABSTER would be lower. Okay, next thing. What makes a chain good? And this is when we get into Abstract specifically, okay? When it comes to finding a good chain, I think it is absolutely necessary to find a chain that will have more inflows. Very obvious. If more money flows into the chain's ecosystem goes up. The interesting part is that the majority of capital in this world is not currently inside the crypto space. Since there are trillions of dollars outside of crypto, and only $3.65 trillion in crypto, going back to the total chart, if you can bring money from outside of crypto into crypto, your chain can very much succeed. What are some of the best examples of this? Bitcoin. It always receives a bid from outside of crypto because as time goes on, more people learn about Bitcoin and want it, and the existing people that like Bitcoin keep putting money in it. Mix that with money printing, and the chart simply goes up. This is also the main cause of Bitcoin's run this cycle, with the ETFs, which opened the gates for an insane amount of capital that was not at the time in crypto and is now flowing into crypto. Okay, another good example is ETH last cycle. From meme coins to NFTs, Ethereum was the place to be. Loads of regular people wanted to use Ethereum to get involved. To get involved, they needed to buy ETH. ETH went up in price, and therefore ETH Eco went up in price. Both meme coins and NFTs being the best example. Okay? Another good example is Solana. Solana this cycle was the place for meme coins. They captured a lot of attention from normies who wanted to buy meme coins, and therefore they were constantly bringing money from outside of crypto into crypto. Is this necessary? No. Technically, an ecosystem can do very well by capturing inflows from existing crypto users. However, it is a sure bet that when an ecosystem can get inflows from outside of crypto, it will do well. This is when Abstract comes into play. Abstract is the best positioned to get adoption from retail. You can create a wallet with simply an email. You'll soon be able to fund your wallet with a bank account or credit card or Apple Pay. And the platform itself is simple to use even if you have never touched crypto before. Their whole purpose is to cater to normies, to regular people, okay? The Abstract team is also derived from the Pudgy Penguins team, who have already begun they've been one of the best companies to get retail adoption so far. Luca Netz is a marketing genius, and I am fully confident in his abilities to capture this audience. And I think there's something to say about the Pengu chart and the Pudgy Penguins NFTs currently. I don't know if you've seen, but on X, everyone is posting about Pudgy Penguins right now. People are PFPing Pudgy Penguins, and Pudgy Penguins has made the best push to actually get real retail adoption. So if any team is capable of this, it's Pudgy Penguins and Luca Nets. On top of this, Abstract is focusing on having apps that the average retail user would enjoy. The biggest retail attraction in crypto are consumer apps. For example, Pump Fund and Polymarket. Abstract is focused on these types of apps, and by making their wallet easier for people to use, Abstract actually has potential to convert these interested people into users. Imagine you wanted to use Polymarket as a regular person, but you don't know how to create your Phantom wallet. You don't know how to fund it. You need to verify all your information, get on a centralized exchange like Coinbase. Takes a while to verify your identity. Takes a while to get your money onto Coinbase. Then you have to send it to your Phantom wallet. It's too confusing. But they are working on making this easier, and it's already much easier with the Abstract wallet. Okay, now this is a big thing. On a recent space, Finn mentioned they will be working on pretty aggressive marketing in the next few weeks. When asked what this looked like, Finn said Web2 user acquisition. There will also be very easy ways to get funds on Abstract's platform, for example, using Apple Pay or paying directly from your bank account. So this is what he had to say.
Really like cool thing to watch because like inevitably we will turn on like a pretty aggressive marketing wheel sometime in the next few weeks or sooner, who knows. We want to we have.
Okay, so they're gonna turn on a pretty aggressive marketing. Did he say flywheel? in the next few weeks, maybe sooner. So we don't have much time until they start marketing. We got to be prepared very quickly because once they turn on marketing, I mean, this is literally what they do best. Luca is literally the best at marketing in the game, I'd say. And I think we've seen that with Pengu and Pudgy Penguins on X. If you've been on X, on Twitter, you've seen it on the timeline. Things are getting massive for Pudgy Penguins and Pengu. And as you can see, the Pudgy Penguin NFTs have gone up crazy, and Pengu has gone up crazy. Okay? Risks. Abstract doesn't cook long term and fails at their plan of becoming the App Store of crypto. So I didn't really touch on it, but they obviously have a much larger vision apart from just, oh, let's do marketing and let's cook for a few weeks. No, they obviously have a much larger vision and they could fail at their larger vision. This would happen if all current users are farmers and dip after a token generated event, TGE, which is when they launch their abs token. Okay, and they'll probably do an airdrop too. The conclusion is even if that happens, even if these risks happen, we still have the short-term narrative to fall back on, okay? And I think we're getting to the short-term narrative here. Short-term catalysts for abstract, and no one is paying attention to this. I actually think it's absolutely insane, the lack of people that understand this. Like, I think it's insane. But let's go to this YouTube link and let's hear what Luca has to say.
And does Abstract itself have like a coin or token? Or is it
It
just
does not. It does not. So right now we're pre-TGE, so you can just use the chain. So we're pre our token generation event. But there is an awesome thing on the chain where you get rewards for using the chain. So if you're playing games, if you're spending money, if you're buying meme coins and collecting NFTs, whatever you're doing on the chain, ultimately every Tuesday you get a slew of rewards via XP distribution that can be found in your rewards tab. And every week, you'll see that number go up. And ultimately, that number will translate to an airdrop that you'll get sometime relatively soon, hopefully.
Okay, so it will translate to an airdrop relatively soon, hopefully. People are not realizing that Luca Netz, the founder of Abstract, who we just saw in that video, probably wants to have a TGE sometime soon. Okay? So a huge question has always been, when is the airdrop? But he said relatively soon, hopefully, in this video. And he says I say, if he waits too long, that will risk a bear market, which would not be good. Q4 is also historically the most bullish quarter in crypto, so there's a good chance they TGE then. Q4 is the last 3 months of the year. This is a really good explanation as to why a token generation event and airdrop is bullish. And keep in mind the numbers may be outdated because this post was from a bit ago. Okay, right now the TVL sits at 24 million on Abstract. The two main memes, Newt and ABSTER, that's also a bit outdated, are worth 32 million combined. This is also a bit outdated. Anyways, in the next 5 to 9 months, an Abstract airdrop is highly likely. ABS is easily a top 50, maybe 30 token out the gate. And this also goes back to the marketing. This is why they want to do marketing towards the airdrop so that it becomes a top 30 or maybe even a top 20 or maybe even a top 10 token. That's $2 to $4 billion, depending on where total is. Assuming 10 to 20% is a community airdrop, that's 200 to 400 million airdropped into thousands of abstract wallets. Assuming top meme valuations stay the same, that's 10x their market cap in capital deposited into users' wallets. And given $1 invested into a meme has $5 to $10 of market cap impact, and because of the house money effect, profit is speculated with much more aggression than capital earned from outside of crypto. And even if $20 million goes into one of the top memes, that translates to 100 to 200 million in market cap increase. And this doesn't even account for the bull scenario, which would be the bull run being in full force during the airdrop. So abstract token valuation is $5 to $10 billion range, or the influx of adoption from onboarding massive streamers to the chain, or the tens of millions of inflows that'll come in response to the airdrop, or the exchange listings Newt and ABSTER, the number one memes on Abstract, will receive when volume picks up, or accounting for the comparisons and valuations between the number one meme on base, 2 billion market cap peak of Brett, to what Newt and ABSTER can grow to, or the fact that Abstract hasn't even begun marketing for their chain yet, coming soon, or the fact that Base destroyed their meme economy with the tokenize everything narrative, and all that capital will flow to Abstract, where the better meme profits are. It's going to be base season 2.0, Toshi plus Brett 2.0, and you've been given a second chance to get in early. Okay? Once again, the numbers are a bit inaccurate, but the point still stands. Abstract has a TGE, and instantly there's liquidity, and everyone is going to ape the meme coins. Okay? Then a ton of users will get an okay, let's just go to my slides, right? A ton of users will get an allocation or an airdrop, and this allocation, at least some, will be used to ape into the abstract ecosystem. Once this happens, the abstract ecosystem will go crazy, even though it's probably going to be already going crazy leading up to here. What this post does not go into is the timing of marketing from Abstract, because that was unknown at the time. Luca Nets will likely make a huge push on the way to TGE. Obviously, you want as much hype going into TGE as possible, and this is when using marketing strategies would be most profitable for Luca and the Abstract team. And as I said before, in this X space, which we heard Finn say in the next couple of weeks, we'll probably see aggressive marketing. The interesting thing is that this is Luca's best strength. After studying Luca's past business endeavors with Gel Blasters, Von Dutch, Pudgy Penguins, and his first side hustles, I'm confident I know his marketing strategies. And if I am correct, Luca has only tried to market Abstract during the Token 2049 Dubai event. Okay? We'll go into that the next section. Risks. Airdrop is terrible. Low valuation, not a lot of tokens given out. Token dies upon launch and everyone leaves the chain. Does not do TGE anytime soon. Okay. In the worst case scenario, that the airdrop is terrible, we still have the marketing Luca will likely do, which I guess is confirmed now, leading up to TGE. Risk with this is maybe he doesn't do marketing. So obviously there's a chance that we're falling on him to do marketing, but maybe he doesn't do marketing. But I mean, that was basically confirmed. Okay. Definitely a chance TGE does not happen anytime soon. Yes, he said hopefully relatively soon, but he also previously stated he wouldn't want a TGE unless they were competing with base as a top layer 2. So basically, if we have an airdrop towards the bear market or a token generated event during the bear market, then it might invalidate this thesis. But I think that's unlikely. Luca's not stupid. The abstract team is not stupid. They know what they're doing. They obviously have everything planned out. A recap of token 2049 Dubai. Okay, so here I have a chart, the ABSTER chart, right? The blue arrow was when token 2049 began, and as you can see, this really led to ABSTER running a ton. Why? Because Luca was marketing Abstract, and on top of that, he was using ABSTER to market the chain, because ABSTER is the mascot, okay? So, as you can see, this was when token 49 began. That was an event in Dubai for a lot of crypto people. And as you can see, we had this massive run up. This was a 140% gain from bottom to top, and it was a massive run led by token 2049. As you can see, literally, token 2049 starts, and then a couple days later is when it pumps, and it keeps that momentum for a while, okay? The thing is, as I mentioned before, Abstract wants to be a top 5 chain. This is what they think is possible in the near term, and they will work very hard to achieve it, and eventually focus on being number 1. Right? They want to be a number 1 chain. Obviously, that's a bit ambitious, but that's what they're going to try to do. The problem is, you aren't a top 5 chain if the number 1 meme coin on your chain is at 19 million market cap. Okay, so now what? We're at 30 million. When I wrote this, it was 19 million, but whatever. So what is the solution? Put Chengu, another meme on Abstract everywhere? No, because you can't shill a meme coin on your chain. It looks bad in general, and it looks worse if the meme coin fails. So the solution is to put your mascot everywhere, which was the plan all along. Even if there was no meme coin, they would have put ABSTER everywhere. It is not Abstract's fault that someone created a meme coin about ABSTER, so even if ABSTER fails, no harm done. They were never endorsing the meme coin, just the character that they created. Okay? Now you get a 2-for-1 special. You promote your chain, and at the same time, you help your number 1 meme coin grow. This is, by the way, how Luca likes to market his projects. Put a character everywhere and get big names to talk about it. The influencer talking about the product is key for Luca. They have large reach and influence and therefore can capture a ton of attention. As I mentioned, there were like 5 other companies he worked for and did this exact same playbook, and he did the same thing with each. And as you can see, this was token 2049. They had ABSTER everywhere. This is actually not token 2049. This was a different event. But as you can see, they put ABSTER on the decal of a Hong Kong tram. And here they had ABSTER on Dubai chocolates. and here they had plushies giving out at token 2049 Dubai. Okay, ABSTER plushies. Okay, if you don't think Luca will use ABSTER to promote Abstract and put him everywhere, I think you are simply wrong. And if you don't think he will market Abstract heading into TGE, I also think you are simply wrong. Studying Luca's past, and also some hints from Finn on X Spaces, I would not be at all surprised if they brought some big names on Abstract streaming platform as we head to TGE, along with getting big influencers to talk about Abstract, even if they aren't streaming on Abstract. Maybe even sending ABSTER plushies to big names, as we see in this World Series of Poker image. So this was July 9th, so only like a week ago. And as you can see, at the World Series of Poker, there was an ABSTER plushie on the table. So if you if you don't think that they're gonna put an ABSTER plushie everywhere and make ABSTER popular and use ABSTER to bring people onto Abstract, well, I don't know what to tell you. I think it's the most obvious thing ever because that's what they are doing. And yeah, it's something insane because you won't see this with any other chain or meme coin on the chain. I think it's very rare to find this, especially rare to find this on a chain that's actually amazing. Risks: they stopped using ABSTER to market Abstract, which why would that happen? Literally, as I said, this was literally a week ago, so they're clearly not stopping to use ABSTER to market Abstract. Unlikely this happens. As I said, yeah, the World's Series of Poker is from July 9, a couple days ago. That was a week ago now. If anything, the marketing is just getting started. Okay. Next, closing statements. Some may call me crazy for having such an ambitious price target, and maybe that is true, but you are always crazy until it happens. Just like I was crazy when I said ABSTER would be the #1 meme coin on Abstract when ABSTER was at a 400K market cap, and there were like 10 other meme coins above it at $1 million market cap, and now look where we are. Now ABSTER's #1 and all the other meme coins, or most, are irrelevant. Okay? I am not saying there's a 100% certainty this will happen, because that is simply not true. That is why we have the risk section. However, if all the stars align and everything I spoke about comes true, then a $5 billion market cap is realistic. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was fun to make. Great presentation, in my opinion. I think we went over all the key points. There's obviously a lot more depth that you could always go into, but this is all the stuff you have to know. I'm so bullish for Abstract, so bullish for ABSTER. And yeah, let's see if ABSTER does, in fact, go on to hit a $5 billion market cap.